All right, guys, I think it's time to begin. Only 16 of us are here. It's a Friday, so we will get through the session really quickly, understand MongoDB, and then try to understand the very last aspect of connecting all the dots, all the technologies into one, and you will be able to understand how to go after that. Okay, so let's begin. I hope the voice is clear, not much of a disturbance, apart from the outside noise. Okay, I don't know. People are on road a lot nowadays since people are really relaxed in terms of coronavirus restriction and stuff like that. I don't know. Anyway, so let's share the screen. Also, you guys got the recording, maybe a little late, but were you able to get the recording? See, walk yourself through. Did you go through the recording? Because we are going to continue from there, and I don't want you guys to get stuck on something that we have already done previously. Okay. In the morning, 8:30. Thanks, Wani. Great. So you had a lot of time to go through it. So that's all right. Cool. So this is where we were. Now let's take a quick recap on what we have done till yesterday. We talked about what MongoDB is. Can you guys tell me what MongoDB is? Is it a NoSQL, SQL, non-relational, relational database? What kind of a database is a MongoDB? Okay. Does anyone know what is the advantage of having, like मैंने बोल दिया तो तुम लोग ने मान लिया कि चलो ठीक है नो एसक्यूएल हम लोग यूज कर रहे हैं, किसी ने पूछा नहीं कि क्यों यूज कर रहे हैं. What is the advantage? So what advantage do you think of NoSQL? Correct. It's fast also. No queries. JSON. Change in scheme. Correct. So when we talk about MongoDB, it also is very useful in big data. Like a lot of datas are there, and when there is a lot of data involved, reading, managing, or it's if there is an unstructured data. So when we talk about unstructured data, what do you think? The chat that you provide us, like अगर हमने इस data जो आपने chatting की है over the period of 1 month इस session में, what would that be? Will it be an unstructured data or will it be a structured data? If I try to extract a meaning out of the chat that you guys have done over 1 month on this session, what would I need? I would need a framework. I would need a design, right? So imagine I want to pick out some words. मेरे पास एक script है जो मैंने लिखा हुआ है कि I want to extract all the chat and the name of the person who has sent that chat using some script or some logic that I am applying and save it in a database. So there is a lot of unstructured data, right? कुछ भी random thought process hai. There is every person has a different thought process. We define something and we try to work on the unstructured data, right? So something like that is very helpful when we are using MongoDB. तो हमने क्या किया कि चलो ठीक है, ऐसा सेंटिमेंट का एक प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट बना लिया कि आई वांट टू अंडरस्टैंड एवरी टाइम जब लोगों ने बोला कैन यू रिपीट, लेट्स से, और रिपीट इट. So I will take out every person who was saying that, okay, who said repeat it. I will create a schema out of that and say, whenever I find repeat, get me the name out of it. And I will put it in my schema. And apart from that, I will say, okay, what is the duration this person has been attending? Or what is the duration or how many classes this person has attended? Then I have a different set of data from where I can fill up this. So this way, I have a lot of unstructured data which I can align into a JSON format. अगर यही चीज हमें रिलेशनल डेटाबेस में करना होता तो हमें ये ये एक स्ट्रक्चर बना के रखना पड़ता पहले से कि हमें ये चीज बना के रखना पड़ता पहले से कि ये डेटा यहाँ जाएगा, ये टेबल इसमें आएगा, ये टेबल का लिंक किसी और टेबल से होना चाहिए। वो स्ट्रक्चर हमें पहले से हमारे पास होना चाहिए। बट MongoDB में फायदा ये है कि ऑन द गो हम एक स्कीमा क्रिएट कर सकते हैं और उसको एग्जिस्टिंग कलेक्शंस में ऐड कर सकते हैं। Yeah, so what I was saying कि extract something can be done with SQL but on a structured data. SQL works on a structured data. कि इस टेबल से निकालो, इस टेबल से ये information निकालो, connect it and give me a report kind of a stuff. But in this scenario, what I'm doing is I'm going into a pool of data and I'm trying to understand that ठीक है, I want to create a database or store the data which is relevant to me. तो मेरे पास एक बहुत सारा डेटा है, अनस्ट्रक्चर्ड है, उसमें से चीजें निकाल निकाल के हम अपना स्ट्रक्चर्स बना लिए। Does it make sense? So SQL, as I'm saying, SQL is mostly on a relational database. क्योंकि तुमने स्ट्रक्चर डिफाइन किया हुआ है अपने डेटाबेस का, यू हैव द रिलेशन इन प्लेस. You know user table is going to get connected with the address table and address table is going to get connected with some other table like a pin code table or post office table, whatever. So you have that relation in place. But when we are talking about MongoDB, these kind of relations are not there. We create it on the go. We can create it on the go. Okay? Does it make sense to all of you? Like Venkatesh का जो क्वेश्चन था, that was post the relational structure or design of the database. कि SQL हम लोग कब यूज करते हैं? हम लोग तभी यूज करते हैं जब हम एक स्ट्रक्चर्ड डेटा को एक्सट्रैक्ट करते हैं. SQL का फुल फॉर्म क्या होता है? पता है किसी को? क्या है बताओ? स्ट्रक्चर्ड क्वेरी लैंग्वेज, उसके नाम में ही लिखा हुआ है स्ट्रक्चर्ड क्वेरी लैंग्वेज. So basically it helps us to get data out of the structured query language. But this one, no SQL, we don't need any kind of a structured query language. We are going to use the concept of object notation and JSON format and all that stuff. All right, cool. तो हमने कल यहाँ तक काम किया था. So let's take a quick recap. So how do we connect to the database? We created an instance on the cloud for our database, which is named as testing. And we have given the access to this particular user. And this user can be anyone depending on what you give. The password should be there. And this is the connection string. This is called a connection string for that particular database. And then we required Mongoose, which was an ODM, जो कि हमारे Node.js environment में, जहाँ पे हम ये code लिख रहे हैं and all that stuff, is going to connect to my database. So let me just quickly open Compass. Okay. The meantime it opens. So what we did was we used Mongoose and we said, okay, connect. We used the connect function from Mongoose and pass the URL. Now there are a couple of more things that it was asking me to pass, which we will do it today. Then we tested whether the connection was made, because it is an event-driven environment, Node.js. We checked on an event called open. So open is an event which happens once. If it happens once, then this particular thing gets triggered. Otherwise, anytime the error event happens, this particular thing gets triggered. Okay, so this was the initial connection. It was successful. But then we went ahead and said that, okay, we will do a test development. हमारे पास अभी ना कोई बैकएंड फ्रेमवर्क है, कोई भी बैकएंड का लॉजिक नहीं है, ना ही कोई फ्रंट एंड है जिससे हम काम कर सकते हैं. तो सिर्फ डेटाबेस समझने के लिए हमने टेस्टिंग फ्रेमवर्क उठाया called Mocha, which is also helpful in a lot of scenarios when you're writing your test cases. And in this scenario, I said that I will have to create a test folder and I will also have to update my test script to run these tests, right? And then I created a demo test which said I'm going to require a library called assert, and using that I will create test using the describe method, inside which I name the test main test, and then we have subsequent callback inside which we have multiple different tests in the it blocks with the name of that specific test and the test itself. So similar to that, we have done that. So we started saving some data, and to save some data, we needed a model and a schema. So for that, we created a user model, and the user model was created using the schema that the instance of a schema that Mongoose provides us, right? So Mongoose provides us an instance of a schema which we are creating over here, and this instance will have the specification that what kind of data it will have. So there is a name and an age field and the data type that it will store. Okay, so this happened, and then we said, okay, now we are going to create a model जिसका नाम person होगा या user होगा. This I showed you that how the name changes on the database, and it is going to refer to the schema that we created, and this is the model based on which our data is going to be saved, right? So this is the model, this is the schema, and definition of this will help us to create or save data. So we can make some validation checks whether if the name is coming in form of numbers, we can reject that particular kind of entries, right? Something like that. It says allows manipulation and formatting of text strings, determine and location of substrings, whatever we want to do on basically जो भी string का हमने APIs देखा था, टू अपर केस टू लोअर केस, कुछ भी मैनिपुलेट करना है डेटा हम कर सकते हैं, right? So based on this, what we have done next was we created a test where we saved our very first entry. Okay, and to do that I imported the user model because अब हमने user बना लिया. अब जहां जहां जरूरत होगी export कर लिया इसको अपने application में. Wherever I require this model to be used, I will import it, something like require, and then I'm passing the data. So it's like I'm creating a new instance of the model, like a row, but it is just an instance. It is not yet in the database. I've created an instance of this by passing the values which it expects, and then we say new user dot save. So dot save is a functionality of Mongoose again, which goes and interacts with the database, and this is a promise-based library, as I said. So promise-based library, what they do is this particular section will give us a promise saying that either the data will be saved or maybe not saved. I don't know, but I'm returning you a promise. So dot then, once the promise is resolved, I am triggering this test. Okay, and this test is checking whether this new user is new or not, and it should not be new because we have already saved it. Make sense till now? Any doubts still here? This is what we had done yesterday. Assert is false. So जो ये is new function है ना, ये is new property है ना, is provided to us by model to check if the entry is new or not, right? Now, once this has been saved over here, it won't be new, right? It is happening after the save has been done, correct? After then, right? So once the save has been done, then it is checking. So that time it is not new. And then we also have this done method to specify that, okay, my test is done right now. And we also saw that my connection string was starting to connect, but the demo test started again, and then the rest of the connection was coming back. So I wanted कि कोई भी test start होने से पहले, before any test start, what I want to do is I want to make the connection, whatever the reply is. अगर नहीं होता है, so we don't move on to the next test. Similarly, over here, this done will say, okay, it saves a record to DB is done. Okay, so in this callback that we are giving for this particular test will be done over here. Make sense? तो हमने डेटा सेव कर लिया था. अब एक काम करते हैं. we will go to user model, give the user name, या person ही रखते हैं, let's work on the person because हमने already database create कर लिया है. Okay, before that I will also show you कैसा MongoDB compass में क्या दिख रहा है, and it's not opening. Give me a second, I'm just trying to open my compass. One second guys, my compass is kind of creating an issue. Zoom भी कभी कभी प्रॉब्लम करता है चीजों में. Come on. Just have you guys faced this? How many of you use Mac? किसी ने Big Sur में update किया क्या यहाँ पे? If someone is using a Mac, has anyone updated it to Big Sur? No one uses Mac over here. Okay. Okay, it's starting, I guess. All right, it did. So this was Mongo Compass where we were seeing the data. So काफी time कल बंद कर दिया था, so I'm starting it again. Now since this is a cloud-based database जो हमने Atlas में set किया था, तो ये डेटा पिक कर रहा है क्लाउड से एंड आई एम कनेक्टिंग माय एप्लीकेशन टू द क्लाउड. सो दीज आर जस्ट माय इंटरफेसेस. मेन डेटा मेरा क्लाउड में सेव हो रहा है व्हिच इज बीइंग प्रोवाइडेड टू अस AWS सर्वर जो हमने यूज किया था. ओके, आई थिंक दिस गॉट क्लोज्ड. या, सो लेट मी शेयर दिस. ओके, एनी क्वेश्चंस? No, so this is not necessary to make a new connection every time that you open your thing. So this was my free cluster, right? I can connect it. So आप recent में देख सकते हो कि कौन कौन से connection है. So let me check. मेरे दो connections हैं. I will just check it with my code कि connection string क्या था. So connection string आप जाके अपने उसमें भी कर सकते हो. अपने account में जाके check कर सकते हो. So VYFTD वाला. So this is not the one. This is the one. Yeah. So I will connect to this. So it will already be there. And once I connect, it is going to connect to the database that we have on Atlas, that is on the cloud. Now let it connect, give it a second. Did you guys try this? आप लोग ने सेटअप कर लिया अपना अकाउंट? It's very important because अभी जो आप लोग के पास next task आएगा वो MongoDB पे आएगा. Okay, let me just edit this connection. Editing will confirm. टेस्टिंग था ना उसका नाम, सो इसलिए वो कनेक्टिंग में दिक्कत हो रहा है. आई थिंक इसका नाम टेस्टिंग था. ओके, let it connect. So these things take a little bit of time. We have changed this in local. Okay, what is happening? Let me just go ahead and create a new connection. इसके लिए I will have to go to my cloud ka account. Let me just check it in my application whether the connection is failing or not. Now that I can do it using my application, why just go till the cloud and check it? All right, let's clear this out. CD into Mongo DB, and I will run npm run test -- mocha. So this is how we run the test, right? Because we have changed the script and there is a problem. Oh yeah, npm install, because I removed all the packages. So I need to install all the packages first. So you see how many automations are required. आजकल आप लोग देख रहे होंगे कि automation industry इतना rise पर है. The reason it is on a rise because these type of tasks that we are doing, कि every time I'm running a script or every time I'm trying to make a connection to the database, I have to do all the stuff. Automation का काम क्या होता है, या DevOps हो गया या कोई भी इस टाइप का काम क्या हो गया कि ये सारे जो स्क्रिप्ट्स है इसको एक लाइन के स्क्रिप्ट में लिख दिया और बस वो स्क्रिप्ट रन किया और सारी चीजें चलने लगी. So that is an idea behind having automation. All right, so now it should work. npm, my system is behaving weirdly, guys. npm run test mocha. Okay, so by the time it starts the test, all right, timeout exceeded. यहाँ पे start हुआ. Did I make a wrong connection string? Nope. Okay, then I need to go to my server and check. So this also gives an idea कि आप कहाँ पे क्या problem हो सकता है, and this is a troubleshooting thing for you. Did I create? Yesterday we did create a password for this one, right? Okay. क्यों नहीं connect होगा? कैसे नहीं होगा? So I'll show you what I'm doing. Yeah, so I'm trying to get the connection string. Maybe if I made some mistake or something. And this is connecting to the database. Give it a second. So in the meanwhile, I will explain you what we are going to do today. अब हम जब एक बार कनेक्शन सेटअप कर लेंगे तभी हम कोई चीज कर पाएंगे, राइट? अदरवाइज हमारा जो भी प्रोसेस होगा वो चलेगा ही नहीं. एंड दिस इज एग्जैक्टली व्हाट वी वर एक्सपेक्टिंग कि सेव हो गया एक बार, उसके बाद हम रीड करेंगे ये डेटा, देन वी विल एडिट द डेटा एंड वी विल हैव द बेसिक अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ ऑल द CRUD ऑपरेशंस. सो MongoDB में होता क्या है? Let's go and take you to the whiteboard. Mongo DB में मेजर ऑपरेशंस जो होते हैं वो होते हैं CRUD. So these are the CRUD operations. Now you tell me, so C is basically create. Whenever I'm creating something on the database, which we have already done. So we have done the create part. We need to do the read part, and we need to do the update part, and we need to do the delete part. तो अब आप लोग मेरे को ये बताओ, which of the, yeah, correct, Diksha. So which of the HTTP methods will link to this operations? So for create, what HTTP method should I use? Put, post? Put or post? What do you guys say? it should be post, because I'm creating a new instance. I'm creating a very new instance. I'm not updating something. Okay, Venkatesh? All right. What do you think about get? कौन सा HTTP मेथड? और सॉरी मैंने नाम ही बोल दिया, गेट ही बोल दिया मैंने. रीड पे गेट होना चाहिए. अपडेट पे क्या होना चाहिए? पुट, करेक्ट. एंड डिलीट पे, I'll just make it capitalized. Delete पे obviously delete. So now you must be able to understand that these are the requests that are going to come from my front end in the form of HTTP methods. And depending on the methods, we can do this operation on the database if required, right? Maybe in the get information, if we have something where we are just manipulating the data that I'm receiving, maybe we might not have to go to till the database. So that is also a thought process when we are trying to make our application efficient, कि कितने बार database तक link देना है, क्योंकि अपने backend से database तक का भी एक time होता है. वो अगर हम cut short कर सकते हैं तो वो depend करता है. So that is how logic works. That is how your brain of any full stack works, right? So these are the relationship that we are going to do. तो अभी हमने save के लिए एक method use किया था create के लिए save, right? Which was relevant and it was promise based. Similar to that, हम लोग read के लिए use करेंगे, update के लिए use करेंगे और delete के लिए use करेंगे, right? Okay, so let's see where is my MongoDB compass. Okay, so this is where this is my test cluster. तो मेरे को ये connect करना है. तो एक बार मैं connect करने के लिए खोलता हूँ इसको, because मेरा अभी locally नहीं connect हो रहा है and I want to connect it with my application, and this is the same thing. So it shouldn't have had major issues, but I have copied it and we will go back to our application और मेरा connection string जो है उसको update कर देंगे और इसको एक नया नाम दे देते हैं testing. So होगा क्या, अगर टेस्टिंग नाम का कोई डेटाबेस पहले से एग्जिस्ट कर रहा होगा, so it will very well start using that database. Otherwise it will create a new database. तो वो जो प्रॉब्लम होती थी पहले कि एग्जिस्टिंग डेटाबेस है और प्रॉब्लम, वो सारी प्रॉब्लम्स नहीं आती है MongoDB में. सो नेम क्लैश की प्रॉब्लम बहुत मिनिमाइज हो गई है अपने एप्लीकेशन से. सो लेट्स क्लियर इट आउट. Let's run this test and it should hopefully work this time. Nope. What is the problem? Timeout before all hooks. All right, let's check it in my compass. Let's check it in the compass. So हम लोग एक नया connection string create करते हैं. We will go to MongoDB and I'll show you guys how we can check that again. So this is debugging mode for us as well. So okay, ये नहीं चाहिए मेरे को. I want it on the MongoDB compass. So this is the connection string and test database. And we will go to the compass and paste it. The password remains new user 123 connect. And this should connect, I think. Hopefully it should. Let's see. It's taking some time. So this is closed. Have I used that option of closing my IP address? Did we do that yesterday? No, right? Okay, let's check the network access Let's check the network access. I think this is document not found. Wow. It might be an internet issue also. Sometimes takes some time to connect. Internet is acting pretty weird. So this was my user. This was, you will be able to connect with the IP. Yes, let's delete it and add the IP again. Add the current IP. Testing. Local. So IP changed. IP has changed from yesterday. So by the time it gets updated, we might have to get the new connection string, right? Because everything is connected. Okay, it's active. We will go to the cluster. We will check the connection because it is still getting updated. As you can see, this line, the border, moving border, is kind of a way of saying that something is getting updated. Okay, so we will connect to this. We will use the application. Copy this again. Copy it. And we will go to this as well. First, we will connect it from here. Okay, so this is updated. This is updated. We will go to our compass. Hopefully this one works. New user 1, 2, 3. And there you go. It got connected, right? So the problem was with my IP address. The IP address changed, and therefore we might have to change it and keep a test. So did you get the problem? क्या problem हो रही थी? तो अब I think ideally मेरा ये वाला problem भी solve हो जाएगा, connection वाला. Was everyone able to understand this? This is a kind of a troubleshooting that I took you through. कि कभी कहीं फंसते हैं तो हम लोग कैसे troubleshoot करते हैं. We troubleshoot at the root, जहाँ से चीजें originate हो रही है. Okay, so here we go. I'll give the same name, test, and new user 2, 3. Let's see if it is the problem. Save it. Okay, hopefully this should work, and the connection is successful. So voila, we are back at where we were. But do understand that what is the process, where the problem was. You understood where the problem was? Where was the problem, guys? Can anyone tell me? Why was it not connecting? क्या प्रॉब्लम थी? क्यों नहीं कनेक्ट हो रहा था? Yes, because अभी मैं जो इंटरनेट यूज कर रहा हूँ वो डिफरेंट इंटरनेट है. जो कल मैं इंटरनेट यूज कर रहा था वो डिफरेंट इंटरनेट था. ठीक है, तो इंटरनेट प्रोवाइडर जो है, इंटरनेट प्रोवाइडर का आईपी एड्रेस होता है जो कि मेरा सिस्टम अंडरस्टैंड करता है. एंड दैट्स व्हाई वी आर trying to make sure that my IP address is correct every time I'm changing an IP. Okay, cool. So my test is up and running. Now let's go ahead and start working with the rest of the commands. All right, cool. तो अभी हम लोग ने एक डेटा सेव किया हुआ है, वो डेटा हम कंपास में अभी देख सकते हैं जाके, which is here. And if I go inside testing, this is where my data is, and this is one document that I have created. Now let's go ahead and run the test again. I ran the test again, and it has overwritten that data, correct? The previous data is the same, the object ID might have changed. Let me refresh this. Yeah, so object ID from yesterday has changed. Let's do this again. Let's go to the code and understand this better. तो हमारा जो डेटा है वो है सेविंग डेटा में. Now what we will do is we will change just the age and see what happens. So I'm saving this and running the data test again. Okay, run it. And 3 are passing, so it must have updated my compass as well. Let's go to my testing people, refresh it. Let's see. Do you see the change? No, there is no change as such. Have you changed the name to user or something? Nope. It is still not reflecting. Anyway, it will reflect in a moment by the time it updates on my system. So what we will do now is we will try to create the reading part of it and try to understand how reading is done, because database जब तक update होगा second part में, तो हम लोग एक reading और database का test लिखते हैं, reading data test .js. Can you walk me through how we are going to create this reading? Rohit, it is not in tabular form because this is a no SQL database, JSON format में data use होता है, that's why. All right, so हम लोग अब read का format use कर रहे हैं, and we will start with assert, and I will require it. And what else would I require? So now what we are going to do is we are going to find some data, whether the data is available or not. Okay? But उसके पहले करना क्या है? पहले मेरे को डेटा सेव करना है और फिर वही सेम डेटा फाइंड करना है, ठीक है? तो उसके लिए हमारा जो अब टेस्ट होगा, that is going to create this data and then we are going to find that data. तो वो करते हैं. तो क्रिएशन डेटा के लिए सबसे पहले डिस्क्राइब, I will say reading records, and there will be a callback function. This callback function, before I can start writing my it block, what I want to do is I want to save the data, right? So to save a data, I would require the user model that I have created over here, person जो भी है, और इस फॉर्मेट में एक डेटा पहले सेव कर लेते हैं जो हमने पहले किया हुआ है और उसको रीड करके टेस्ट कर लेंगे. So let's do that. I'll save a data over here and I will create a let user let's call it new user only. Let new user is equal to, यहाँ पे हमें चाहिए होगा वो model, right? So we will import that model. I will call that user is equal to require whatever we have imported. So model. So now you understand the modularity concept of your Node.js, okay, how everything is a modules and we are using that module, and I'm saying users module, and inside this I will pass. So it's not necessary that you pass all the details all the time. Maybe I'm just saving it with the name of the person, and I do not provide age. So this is an optional field. Even the name is an optional field at the moment. We have not made any kind of validation checks on this one. So we will go ahead and say name is equal to Jake. All right. So I'm going to create this name as a Jake and save this one. So what I want to do is, जो new user बना है उसको हम बस save कर रहे हैं. So how do I do it? I just say new user dot save, and this will save it. I'm not writing any kind of function or anything, so I don't want anything else. I'm pretty sure that this will get saved, but this is not the right way. Now once we have saved it, what I want to do is I want to put it inside or check inside this test. So I'm saying it finds one record from the DB, and then we will have this callback function, which is going to help me understand that what this particular function is going to be. ये हमारा टेस्ट आ जाएगा. तो अब सर्च कैसे करेंगे? So similar to save, we are going to say that जो भी मेरा user model है, ठीक है, जो भी मेरा user model है उस पे एक फंक्शन होता है find. बहुत सारे functions हैं, find by id, find id and delete, find id and remove. So I will say find one. I want just one person to be returned. That is only one data matching some condition. So this will take the condition inside, right? So now you will be understanding that how the conditions work and how we pass these conditions. तो हमें क्या condition pass करनी है कि जो मेरा name है वो कुछ ऐसा हो, Jake, ऐसा नाम हो जो हम खोज रहे हैं, right? Do not look at this. This is just to tell my database has this. तो मैंने एक बस dummy data save कर दिया यहाँ पे. Here what I'm saying is go to this user model, because it will understand that, okay, I need to go into the persons table, understand the schema, and I'm going to read through the user model and find one of the data which will match this condition. And this condition is passed in the form of objects, which my Mongo DB will internally convert it to JSON, match it. If there is something, it will return me. If there is nothing, it will return me something else, right? So I am just using Mongoose ka functionality and saying that this is what I am trying to look for. Now, once I have done this, this is again a promise-based object, and I will say once you have found it, then once you have found it, अब हम लोग इस पे assert कर सकते हैं. तो यहाँ पे एक data return आएगा मेरे को. जो data return आएगा, वो I will receive it over here. Whatever data, as I said, कि MongoDB is going to return me something based on क्या उसको मिला है. And this find one will return me the data. So once it is done, I will receive some data and I can assert based on the data I've got, because this data is going to be in the form of JSON. And we can do that as well. We will see it in the console. But I will say data.name is equal to जो भी हमने name pass किया है as of now, Jake. अभी बहुत hard coding कर रहे हैं, but we are trying to understand कि करना क्या चाह रहे हैं, right? And here I will just say console.log data. Something very similar to our JavaScript. हमने कल ये भी बोला था कि हमें done script दिखाना पड़ेगा कि when it is done. So this is done. This test is done after this assertion. Okay. All right. Let's save it and run the test. Hopefully this should work. Clear it out. Once this is working, then I will ask if you guys have any kind of a doubt. All right, let's take a look what is happening. And yes, do you see this test has passed? Reading record has also passed. Reading record has also passed. And it says, you see console.log. So this is the data that is coming from database, which has generated some ID, the name, and there is this underscore v, which is the version of this data. So my database is actually saving some data. So hopefully my database gets updated. And if I go to people, it should have updated it. So I will refresh in the background. By the time it refreshes, can you tell me, are you understanding what is happening? Oh, okay, I change the name of this. अब देखो, अभी हम लोग ना गलत डेटाबेस पे चेक कर रहे थे, टेस्टिंग में पीपल देख रहे थे, बट हमने डेटाबेस का नाम क्या दिया है कनेक्शन स्ट्रिंग में, टेस्ट. तो टेस्ट में पीपल बन गया और उसमें 4 डेटा आ गया. ठीक है, जॉन, जॉन, जेक, जॉन. तो बीच में जो 2-3 टेस्ट हमने रन किए थे उसका डेटा क्रिएट होता जा रहा है बार बार, राइट, एंड द आईडीज आर डिफरेंट. बट यहाँ पे एक जेक का भी डेटा क्रिएट हुआ है जो कि हैज कम बैक टू अस. So what we have done is we have asked our Mongo DB कि save, पहले तो हमने ऐसे टेस्टिंग के लिए एक सेव कर दिया, and then we are trying to access that data and just making a check. इसलिए हमने सेव किया था. बट एक प्रॉब्लम है यार, बार बार टेस्ट कर रहे हैं तो बार बार एक नया डॉक्यूमेंट क्रिएट हो रहा है, राइट? एवरी टाइम अ न्यू डॉक्यूमेंट इज गेटिंग क्रिएटेड. So it is going to unnecessarily increase the data on my database just for testing. So as a programmer, you should be always thinking in terms कि कैसे इसको minimize कर सकते हैं. So to do that, हम क्या कर सकते हैं कि every time I am making a connection or any kind of test is being run, what I will do is I will clean the data or I will drop the data from here. Okay, I will drop this data from my database. So how should I do that? How should I do that? Any guesses? There must be something, some method which will help us to drop the data. What should I drop? The whole collection, right? The person collection that I'm creating on every test should be dropped so that जो मेरा data है वो fresh हो जब भी हम कोई test run करें. अभी क्या हो रहा है कि it is kind of creating multiple entries for the same data with the different IDs, and that's why it looks like that there are different datas as you see over here. The ID is different for this one, the ID is different for this one, and this one, and this one. So every time, let's say I run it for 100 times. So this is going to get saved for 100 times. I don't want that to happen. So let's understand how to drop this collection. I want to drop this people collection from here. Okay, there are different documents. I will drop the whole collection. I don't want to drop individual elements. I will drop the whole collection whatsoever. So I go back, check it out over here and say that, okay, let's go. Where did it go? Yeah, connections. So I'll go to my connections. Just like when I said before, it means before running any kind of test, what you do is you check the connection and then only go to the next one. There is another similar hook in Mocha, for Mocha, basically called before each, right? So this hook is basically saying that running each test, like demo test में हमने 2 टेस्ट लिखे हैं, तो इस टेस्ट के भी पहले, आफ्टर, लाइक बिफोर, सॉरी बिफोर ईच, इस टेस्ट के भी पहले और इस टेस्ट के भी पहले ये वाला जो हम लोग अभी लिखने वाले हैं कंडीशन या मेथड वो एग्जीक्यूट होगा. सो दिस मींस here I can say, okay, before running every test, just drop the database. So how do I drop it? I will go to my mongoose connection. तो जो भी connection अभी है उसके अंदर collections. So this will give me different collections. So this is a string, okay, kind of an object, and inside this I will say इस collections में मेरा जो people collection है. Now you see how important it is, the name. Even though I've used person over here, when I'm trying to connect to the database, I'm saying that read the people's collection and just drop it. And there is this function called drop. ड्रॉप मेथड. ओके, सेशन अगर देना है या नहीं देना है दैट डिपेंड्स ऑन यू, बट अभी के लिए हम बोल रहे हैं कि इसको ड्रॉप कर दो. तो ड्रॉप करने के बाद तो ये हो गया हमारा ड्रॉप का फंक्शन बेसिकली. बट ऑल्सो वी नीड टू से कि कब खत्म हो रहा है. सो वी रिसीव दिस डन और ये खत्म हो रहा है आफ्टर गेटिंग ड्रॉप. सो इनसाइड दिस आई एम गोइंग टू से done. Okay, so this is done. So what I'm trying to do is drop my collections before each tests. All right. Okay, so let's close this, run the test and see if it works or not. Okay, run successful, record and null, and then it failed. So there is some issues, and the issue is it finds one record from DB. हुआ क्या, हमने यहाँ पे कहाँ गया, सेविंग रीडिंग डेटा. हमने क्या किया है, इस टेस्ट के पहले ये सेविंग किया है, करेक्ट. अब क्या हुआ, सेव तो हुआ लेकिन इस टेस्ट के पहले फिर हमने ड्रॉप कर दिया डेटाबेस. तो उसने जाके डेटा डॉट नेम डॉट जे फाइंड करने की कोशिश की एंड it is not returning anything. It is not returning, whereas my saving record is successful. So that is successful. So I might need to change some of the code over here as well. And that changes is nothing but a kind of a before each hook. तो हमने एक इस टेस्ट डिस्क्राइब के अंदर भी एक और बिफोर ईच लगाएंगे. अब हम लोग आपका एक नॉलेज चेक करूंगा क्विकली, देखते हैं कितने लोग पकड़ पाते हैं ये. ऑलराइट, अब यहाँ पे what we are going to do is we are going to do this. I'm going to save it inside before each. So what this is going to do is इस describe के अंदर जितने टेस्ट हैं या जब भी describe शुरू होता है उस टेस्ट के पहले ये वाली चीजें कर दो. So basically I am trying to save the record to the database, which is okay, fine, and I will say done होगा once the save is done. So यहाँ पे then लगा सकते हैं. So this then will actually say that okay, I have saved it, now you can say that this is done. All right, let's queue it properly so that it is better understood, right? Yeah. All right, will this work? What do you guys say? Before each लगा लिया है, सारी चीजें हमने लगा ली हैं. अब what we need to do is we need to run the test. Will this pass or fail? What's your call? What's your call? Yes, no, maybe, any answers? And it is passing. Why is it passing? How is it passing? समझ में आया क्या चल रहा है, क्या कर रहे हैं हम लोग, कि ऊपर से जा रहा है सब? यार रिस्पॉन्ड नहीं कर रहे हो तुम लोग, आज मजा नहीं आ रहा, आज कंफ्यूज हो गए. अच्छा चलो मैं एक चीज करता हूँ, एक चीज चेंज करता हूँ. यहाँ पे फंक्शन लिखता हूँ, अपना गुड ओल्ड फैशन फंक्शन. यहाँ पे भी फंक्शन लिखता हूँ. इसको थोड़ा पुराने जमाने में ले जाते हैं. फंक्शन लिखते हैं और इसको वार करते हैं. आई जस्ट वॉन्टेड टू अंडरस्टैंड आप लोग समझ रहे हो कि नहीं. इसको फंक्शन लिखते हैं और इसको डन करते हैं. क्या अब ये पास करेगा ये टेस्ट? Operation of code is same as before. Let's clear it out. क्या अब पास करेगा ये टेस्ट? Let's check it out. क्या हो रहा है? पास तो कर रहा है, बढ़िया. समझ में आ रहा है हम करने की कोशिश क्या कर रहे हैं? Are you able to understand what we are trying to do? ओके, चलो ठीक है. इसमें एक और तो अभी हमने बस नेम के हिसाब से खोजने की कोशिश करी है. What we will do is we will try to use another function. I hope this is not too disturbing for you. Is it? I am Venkatesh. I'm going to tell you that, exactly that. अब हम लोग आईडी के थ्रू फाइंड करते हैं. सो फाइंड बाय आईडी का जो ऑप्शन था, क्योंकि हमेशा हमें नाम तो नहीं पता रहेगा. Whenever we are trying to access our database, there is so much noise today, sorry. So whenever we are trying to find anything, we might not want to find name by name. अब कोई query आई और उसका नाम हम देख रहे हैं और उस नाम से फिर हम extract कर रहे हैं name और फिर जाके we are trying to understand कि है कि नहीं है. So that looks like a stupid option. But we see that there is an ID, which is a unique identifier. So there might be a couple of Jakes, right? So if there are two Jakes, this option over here, find one, will give me the very first Jake it encounters. Okay, find one will encounter the very first Jake and it will return me that Jake. If there are more than 2 or 3 people named as Jake, then we are not going to get to that person. We are just going to get the very first one that it encounters. Okay, so ID looks like a better option. Ki ID can depend based on the ID. We are going to work on this. So I'll create another test, and I will say it finds one record by ID. Simple name रखते हैं, एकदम जैसा नाम वैसा काम. Okay. Now inside this, what I want to do is similar to this user में फाइंड करना है. हमने सेव तो कर दिया है, यहाँ पे सेव हो गया. अब हमें सेव करने की फिर से जरूरत नहीं है, क्योंकि जब तक ये खत्म नहीं होगा ये वाला पूरा टेस्ट रीडिंग रिकॉर्ड, मेरा डेटाबेस डिलीट नहीं हो रहा है. ठीक है, नथिंग इज गोइंग टू गेट डिलीटेड. ऑलराइट, अब एक चीज करते हैं, डॉट फाइंड वन करते हैं, बट इस बार आईडी के बेसिस पे करते हैं, क्योंकि आईडी एक यूनिक आइडेंटिफायर है. एज आई सेड, नेम कैन बी, a lot of people can have a name of Jake. Here I need to pass the ID. ठीक है, तो ये जो ID है ये मैच करना चाहिए हमें. Alright, so I will say underscore ID, small, not capital. And what kind of ID? Basically जो हम बंदे को सेव कर रहे हैं, न्यू यूजर का एक ID जनरेट होगा, right? This is the new user. When I try to save it, it gets an ID, right? After this method, it gets an ID. Here it does not have an ID, sorry. Till this line, it does not have an ID. And then we save it and it gets an ID like this. And that's why we are able to fetch this ID. So basically, once this save has been done, it receives as an ID, and I say new user dot underscore ID. So basically we are trying to find the ID of the person we are saving. ठीक है, अंडरस्टैंडिंग पर्पसेस के लिए. अब अगर हमें मिलता है, so I am going to write this function, and this is going to receive some data similar to this, similar data, and I can assert the values. I can assert the values saying assert जो मेरा data आया dot underscore ID Okay, before I go ahead, the failure, we'll go to the next failure later. So जो डेटा का अंडरस्कोर आईडी है और ये जो आईडी है ये दोनों सेम होना चाहिए, राइट? दिस इज समथिंग सिमिलर टू दिस डेटा डॉट नेम और जेक जो हमने सेव किया है. सो जो हम सेव कर रहे हैं जो आईडी है ऑब्वियसली पास होना चाहिए. सो दिस शुड पास, राइट? एंड वी विल से डन. क्या लगता है पास होगा? अभी हमने फाइंड वन में बस कंडीशन में आईडी पास किया है इंस्टेड ऑफ द नेम, एंड आईडी इज अ बेटर वे ऑफ फाइंडिंग थिंग्स rather than giving a name. What do you say? Yes, no, jaldi, quickly. Yes, no. It will pass or fail. No responses? Yes, from Diksha. Okay. All right, there is a problem. We have a problem. 4 पास हो रहा है. ये रीडिंग रिकॉर्ड का इट फाइंड्स 1 भी पास हो रहा है, बट फाइंड 1 रिकॉर्ड बाय आईडी नहीं पास हो रहा है. और प्रॉब्लम क्या आ रहा है? न्यू यूजर इज नॉट डिफाइंड. कैन एनीवन टेल मी क्यों? It says this is the code. Read it and tell me what is the reason. I'll give you a couple of minutes to read the code. The problem is it says new user is not defined. कहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम होगी फिर? Anyone? Yes. So what? Yes, correct, Kirti. You might be right. So what do you think? Why do you think so? Why should we change it? And what should we change it to? Correct, correct, Kirti. Yes, correct. So now you remember we are using functions, we are using this keyword of function, and I told you this is scoped locally, right? ये सिर्फ इस function में scoped होगा. तो ये new user इसके बाहर access ही नहीं हो रहा है. Good catch, Kirti. Nice one. I was expecting this. Right? Arrow function से चल जाएगा? चलो try करते हैं. क्या लगता है? Arrow function से चल जाएगा? Here ये सब change कर लेते हैं. Like this doesn't matter to us because ये तो callback function है इसका, but still we'll change it. इसको भी arrow function कर देते हैं. क्या लगता है? Arrow function से चल जाएगा? Yes, no. पल्ले पड़ा है ना कि चल क्या रहा है, मतलब मैं पूछ क्या रहा था और जो कीर्ति ने बोला वो उसने क्या बोला. Let's try. Okay, and it's a failure. It is still not able to find it. Why? Because it is not global. This thing is not global. Okay, so we have to make this global. Let तो और नहीं access करेगा. कैसी बातें कर रहे हो तुम लोग? Let तो और नहीं access करेगा. This is function scoped. Var फिर भी function scoped था. मतलब उसको इस function के बाहर कर सकते हैं access. Let is block scoped, right? So I will make it global. So this becomes global for this whole describe block. Okay? And I'll just save it over here, a new variable, new user, empty, undefined. Okay? And I define it before each function. And this should work for me. And this should work for me, hopefully. It was not related to Mongo DB. This was related to your concept of JavaScript. Okay, so this is working and this works fine. And it says, okay, ये दोनों ID सही है. तो समझ में आया कि हम कैसे find कर रहे हैं और उस find करने का क्या options है? There are multiple options, but we are using find one and we are saying, okay, go ahead, find a particular person who has this ID. And who is that particular person? हमने basically repeat कर दिया, repetitive काम है, new user जो save हो रहा है उसी की ID find करो और assert कर दिया हमने. Alright, now let's go and check our compass कि क्या ये बार बार डेटा सेव हो रहा है. And test का people, let me refresh. And as you can see, John is there because yeah, John has to be there, right? Or Jake. Yeah, so the last test that we have run, that it runs, where did it go? Yeah, so John is coming from here. So last test it runs is the save database. इसके बाद कोई run नहीं हो रहा है test, तो drop नहीं हो रहा है database, correct? तो ये इसलिए हमारे पास जॉन की एंट्री है, बट जेक की एक भी एंट्री नहीं है हमारे डेटाबेस में. क्यों? क्योंकि we are dropping the database every time we are running a new test, and every time here Jake is getting created before each of these tests. Make sense? हमने create देख लिया, हमने read देख लिया, और हमने read का दो अलग अलग methods देख लिया, right? Yes, no? Clear it out. All right. Now what we are going to do is we are going to talk about saving and updating data. Deleting and updating data. So similar way में हम लोग update भी करते हैं. Let's update something, and for that we will create a new file called update. Updating data test.js. इसमें क्या चाहिए होगा हमें? What is the first thing that we do? You guys tell me, how are we going to do this? All right. Assert, सबसे पहले तो assert चाहिए, क्योंकि assert चाहिए होगा हमें. Assert is equal to require assert. Now, will I require, what else will I require? Because I might have to update some data, so I would require users, and I will require it over here, say users. Will it work? No, obviously not, because I'll have to go out, models, and then users. All right, ठीक है. First thing, what do we need? What do we need for this? Which block? I'm writing a test now for updating. You want reference? I can give you reference. Reading data का reference है side में आपके. What is next? Come on, fast. I don't like the tempo of the class right now. बहुत confused हो आप लोग लग रहा है. You will get time to work on this. Whatever comes to your mind, tell me. क्या यार तुम लोग भी. चलो. वी नीड द सेव डेटा, करेक्ट. तो हम लोग डिस्क्राइब ब्लॉक बनाएंगे ना, एक टेस्ट लिख रहे हैं, मैंने बोला. So I will call this updating records. I'll show you quickly. Now we use the done and go inside this, create a new user again, similar to the previous one, and I will say before each test is run, create this user. So उसके लिए हम लोग एक before each hook use कर रहे हैं और उसको define करेंगे कब खत्म होगा, कहाँ खत्म होगा, कैसे खत्म होगा. And I will say new user is equal to new user and name. And did you observe? I did not pass the age over here, but the data was saved. So basically, my schema gives me an ability to save just that part of data. Like अगर हमने कुछ age नहीं pass करी तो वो कुछ problem नहीं है. So now I'm going to say John Snow. Let's save his name. It was Jon. And age. Do you know what his actual age was in the book? How many of you have read the book for Game of Thrones? Okay, let's not create those suspenses. So these guys were really, they were teenagers in book. Anyway, so we have new user, and then we will say new user dot save dot then, and we will say जब सेव हो जाए तब ये पार्ट खत्म होगा, जो डन वाला फंक्शनल है यहाँ पे खत्म हो रहा है. तो हमने सेविंग कर लिया, बिफोर ईच यहाँ पे ब्लॉक खत्म हो गया. नाउ वी कैन मूव ऑन टू द टेस्ट, right? So that test should be after this block. Okay, so now here we are going to do it updates one record in the DB. All right, so now it updates one record in the DB. What we will do is update के लिए क्या क्या चीजें चाहिए होंगी. How will we update something? What are the things that would be required for updating something? Correct? ID चाहिए होगा, तो यहाँ पे हमने सेव किया है, आईडी चाहिए होगा, और हमें लेट्स सपोज एज अपडेट या नाम अपडेट करना है. इस जॉन स्नो का नाम एज अ जॉन स्नो सेव होगा. यहाँ पे कंसोल डॉट लॉग कर लेते हैं जो डेटा आएगा, क्योंकि सेव होने के बाद एक डेटा आ रहा है, राइट? सो आई जस्ट कंसोल डॉट लॉग सो दैट वी कैन सी इट ओवर हियर. ओके, सो आई वांट टू अपडेट द डेटा ऑफ द नेम. हमें नेम का नेम चेंज करना है. तो सबसे पहले यूजर को एक्सेस करेंगे और हम लोग बताएंगे कि हमें करना क्या है वहां पे. सो आई विल से फाइंड, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आई नीड टू फाइंड दैट वन पर्सन बाय आईडी एंड रिप्लेस इट, और फाइंड वन एंड रिप्लेस इट, sorry, update it or replace it, right? So there are two things that we are doing. One second, guys. Yeah, so find by ID or find one or replace. So let's use find one and replace first and update. Let's use this. So what I'm trying to do is I'm going to find one thing and I'm going to update that. So first thing that we need to pass is what we need to find, and second parameter is what we need to update. So over here I will say find for the name over here and say Jon Snow. Okay, All right. So what we are doing is we are finding by the name of Jon Snow, and what we are trying to replace is the name. Or if I want to replace the age as well, I can pass the age as well. But at the moment, I am trying to change it to, let's say, Arya. Okay. Find one and update. Name is Jon Snow, and I am trying to update it to Arya. All right. So this, once this is done, then sorry, yeah, because this is a callback function, I need a callback function to check on this. I will receive some data, right? I'll receive some data, and that data, one second, I'll just close all the stuff. आपको समझ में आ रहा होगा कि प्रैक्टिस की जरूरत है इन चीजों में. सडनली आप लोग की बात करने की टेंडेंसी एकदम गायब हो गई. मेरे को लग रहा है मैं अपने से बात कर रहा हूँ. Anyway, so find one and update. So we are trying to find by the name of Jon Snow, and the second property that I'm passing is the thing that I want to change. If I say age to 25, 24, what I'm saying is मेरे को सबसे पहले Jon Snow वाले जो भी data है, get me that data and replace this values or update these values. So what are the values I'm trying to update? Name and age. Okay. Now I need to check whether this has been updated or not. So सबसे पहले यहाँ पे console.log करके अपने से check कर लेते हैं, and then we will use the coding method, the assert functions. So यहाँ पे update हो गया. अब हमें same user को access करके find करना पड़ेगा. Find by ID, right? And the ID is going to be nothing but the ID of this character, right? Whatever we have. Whatever we have over here. So ID is going to be new user का ID, क्योंकि ID तो नहीं change हो रहा है. When we are updating anything, it is not going to get updated, update the ID. It is not going to update the ID. I am just updating the value. You cannot update the ID because that is a unique identifier, and that is not the right way to do it. Anything. So I have found it, and then I am going to say, okay, let's check out the result. So I'm going to assert whatever result I'm going to get back and say result dot name triple equal to ये वाला, right, जिस पे हमने अपडेट किया है. And this is done. समझ में आ रहा है हम करने की कोशिश क्या कर रहे हैं? Even though it looks like a triangle of death, but it is not. It is very simple. Very simple. सेव किया सिंपल. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल अपडेट करने का एक मेथड, क्योंकि हमें अपडेट करना है, हम वो टेस्ट कर रहे हैं. ऑल्सो तो हमने फाइंड वन एंड अपडेट किया और बोला कि क्या फाइंड करना है. सो फर्स्ट पैरामीटर इज व्हाट आई नीड टू फाइंड, एंड द सेकंड पैरामीटर इज व्हाट आई नीड टू अपडेट इट टू, राइट? Once it is updated, we should see this data, this new data, instead of the one that we have initially, which we have logged over here. So that data comes in, and on that data, so I know that is from user, I'm finding by ID, which we have initially created, which does not change. And once I get some data, so I'm also using the reading test में जो हमने देखा था method, find by ID use कर रहे हैं, और जो रिटर्न हो रहा है रिजल्ट, उसका नाम और जो नाम हमने दिया था उसको चेक कर रहे हैं. अगर ये दोनों सेम हुए, दैट मीन्स ओके इट शुड पास. अगर नहीं चेंज हुआ तो फेल हुआ है. ओके, ऑलराइट, आई नीड टू पास डन ओवर हियर because I need to say that this callback function, this test is done over here. And did I miss done anywhere else? Nope, it doesn't look like. Okay, this done is never used. Okay, we don't even need a done over here. We don't need a done over here. क्योंकि before each खत्म होगा यहाँ पे, और ये यहाँ पे खत्म होगा. All right, cool. Let's cross our fingers and see if it works. And we are going to see what is going to happen. Yes. So we have a new test, updating records, Jon Snow, initial age. Then we have this same ID, name Jon Snow, and a age of 16. But let's see if there is some data in my database. Same data आया, right? ऐसा लग रहा है कि कुछ चेंज नहीं हुआ. चेंज हुआ कि नहीं हुआ? लग रहा है कुछ चेंज नहीं हुआ. But let's go and check it out in our Mongo DB. So in our Mongo DB, it says Arya and 24. So there is this method. It tells a lot of things about this particular method that I'm using, find by ID. Find by ID या update वाला जो function है, जो हम console.data log कर रहे हैं यहाँ पे, ये data अपडेटेड डेटा नहीं दिखा रहा, ये मेरे को प्रीवियस डेटा दिखा रहा है, जो कि हमने पहले यूज किया था. ठीक है, हमने पहले यूज किया था, उसका डेटा दिखा रहा है. अगर मैं ये सेम चीज यहां पे लॉग करता तो इट वुड हैव गिवन मी द अपडेटेड डेटा, क्योंकि नहीं तो ये टेस्ट पास ही नहीं हो सकता है. मेक सेंस? आर यू एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड हाउ टू थिंक while you are reading a code? I'm also talking about how you should read a code, how you should understand a code. फ्रंट एंड में बहुत मजा आ रहा था सबको, बैक एंड में लग नहीं रहा है कि मजा आ रहा है. बट बैक एंड इज मोर अबाउट दिमाग चलाने का, कैसे यू रीड, हाउ यू pinpoint each one of them and target it. As you can see, it is more on a black screen and looks a little boring, but it is more powerful than what we do in the front end. Okay, there is also a warning that mongoose find one and update or find one and delete without this option set to false are deprecated. So basically आगे चल के मतलब अगर हम इसको प्रोडक्शन में यूज करेंगे तो it can be a problem, but we can replace it. We can use some other things or we can use this, use modify. तो इसका मतलब क्या है, अगर कोई भी एरर हटाना है उसका ऑप्शन भी इन्होंने दे दिया है कि यहाँ पे इस फंक्शन में प्रॉब्लम है. So I am going to create a new object and give it a value of use find and modify to false. इसका मतलब ये हो रहा है कि इनका कोई इंटरनल मेथड होगा फाइंड एंड मॉडिफाई वाला, जो हम यूज कर रहे हैं इस मेथड के थ्रू, जो ये डेप्रिकेट करने वाला है. एंड आई एम जस्ट पासिंग अ फ्लैग काइंड ऑफ अ थिंग सेइंग यूज find and modify is false, but that is not going to affect your fundamental knowledge. That is nothing related to database और उसमें saving waving कैसे हो रहा है. It's just the requirement of mongoose. Now if I save this that must have been gone. Yeah, so that thing is gone. So now you see Jon Snow सबसे पहला console.log यहाँ से आया जब हमने सेव किया, दूसरा console.log यहाँ से आया जब हमने अपडेट किया. बट find one and update क्या करता है, it returns me a data which was prior to update, right, this one. And then once we find it again over here, we find the data has been updated. So it updates one record in the DB. समझ में आया? Understanding the flow of it? डिलीट देखना चाहोगे कि खुद से ट्राई करना चाहोगे? What do you feel? Do you want to try delete or not? कोई बोल ही नहीं रहा है यार. ये मैंने बहुत बार देखा है, MongoDB के साथ बहुत शांति हो जाती है सेशंस में. सडनली लोग चुप हो जाते हैं, रिएक्शंस आने बंद हो जाते हैं. ऐसा क्यों होता है? मैं समझने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ. Totally new concept, understandable. But yes no भी तो नहीं बताते हो आप लोग. Yes no भी नहीं बताते हो कि नहीं समझ में आया, आया, थोड़ा सा समझ में आया, प्रैक्टिस करेंगे. डरो मत, डरो मत. ये चीज जो आप सीख रहे हो ना, अब ये प्रोसेस आप देख रहे हो आपका जावास्क्रिप्ट कहाँ बैकएंड तक पहुंच गया है. एंड एवरीथिंग इज सो वेल ऑर्गेनाइज्ड इन जावास्क्रिप्ट कि सारी चीजें हम यूज कर सकते हैं. We can use it till the very to the last part of the stack. So now we are dealing with databases, and our database is also sync with JavaScript. Logic is also right now. Logic is easy to understand, Sridhar, but it will get complicated over time. क्योंकि हमने what we have used is a very simple model. ठीक है, we have used a very simple model. अभी तो मैंने आपको एक दो चीजें और बतानी है कि हाउ टू मेक अ कॉम्प्लेक्स मॉडल, लाइक एक मॉडल के अंदर दूसरा मॉडल, एंड हाउ टू यूज दोस काइंड ऑफ मॉडल्स. ओके, सो ट्राई इट ओवर द वीकेंड. लेट मी नो, लेट मी नो डिटेल डिलीट में अगर प्रॉब्लम आ रही है तो आई विल अपडेट द कोड एंड पुश इट फॉर यू ऑन आवर गिटहब. और इस पे थोड़ा एक्सरसाइज भी देंगे आप लोग को, बिकॉज विदाउट एक्सरसाइज यू वोंट बी able to understand this. So let's go back, push it, git node modules नहीं चाहिए तो I'll delete it. अब it's open for doubt guys, so you can go ahead and ask the doubt by the time I push it for you. Okay Rohit, that's the spirit. You should learn the technology. These are the upcoming technologies going to help you a lot. And you are interacting with the industry expert. You're not interacting with something on a course basis. So don't think of this as a course. Think of this something that you are doing personally for yourself. Okay. मेरे को ये बताना. So we are thinking on React. I think I talked about the React course and everything. How many of you are? One second, I'll just push it first. Because accordingly we will work. Add नहीं किया ना इसको. Give me a second, I'll just push it and then we will talk. Mongo DB. Create, update, and read. Exercise for delete, or I'll just say try delete yourself. Try delete. So this commit message will be also a reminder for you. Let it push.